Welcome back to One on One with Mr. U. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. U. In studio with us, real estate broker Jessica D. Ray is in the house today. She is so much more than just a real estate broker, but we'll get into it. You're going to hear it fleshed out throughout the course of this episode. But Jessica, good to have you in the house today. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm great. It's the morning, it's sunny. I'm happy.
Good. Sunny's good. Good. Look, customarily, we always ask our guests to come in and kind of share a little bit of their childhood and their upbringing, how you got from there to here. If it's messy, we can handle it. We got capacity for it. No worries, but just share as much or as little as you like to. Go ahead.
Awesome. So I'm currently 35 years old. I come from an Italian upbringing. Essentially, I grew up with one parent that really took care of the household as I grew up. I recently just rekindled with my father again, and so that kind of brought up a whole other slew of emotions and feelings. As I transition into this new period of my life, I just became single, getting back into the game. So having, I think, my father come into play at this point in my life was obviously, I think, something that was meant to happen, and by God's grace, it happened.
This can we get into it because this is a little bit deeper than the last conversation that we had. So I'm like, okay, so you're giving me more room to ask you more questions. But
Sorry.
that's okay. No,
I threw the fishing line in.
It's nothing about that. No, this is good though. This is good if you're good with it. So you're talking about getting into the game. I would never want to do this at this stage in life, to go back into the singles realm with all that goes on out there, all the complexities of the single life, if you will. Tell me how you feel like, getting to a weekend relationship with your father, how does that play into what you're looking for or what you're not looking for? Can you get into that a little bit? Help these single folks out who might be in the same spot?
Absolutely. I think everything is all about timing. So I think that my relationship ending after 5 years correlated a lot with the men I possibly chose in my past. My father not being there or around, not by default. I just think there was just a mesh of personalities there, and I took a step back, and so did he. But now that I've, regained this newfound confidence and being single and being on my own, I think reconnecting with my father also brought to terms like he is who he is. I am who I am. I'm not perfect, neither is he, but I can come to the table in agreement. And now moving forward, understanding who he is as a person, understanding myself as a person as well. I can also, in this new stage of life, being single, I can see, okay, what do I really want in the person I want to share my life with, and kind of see why didn't it work with my mom or my father, and what can I take from that and put it into what I really want with my partner moving forward.
So do you feel like you got to hold on what that hard part was in your upbringing that kind of got you to where you are? You kind of figured out, you know what you don't want to be doing. Are you dealing with the rough stuff, or is it like a work in progress?
It's always a work in progress. I'd say
Yeah,
if I ever had it figured out, there's always going to be something that's going to come up, right?
of course.
So yeah, essentially, I think I'm a type of person, it's like if you do me wrong, I kind of take a step back and kind of refigure like, no, I don't want that. But then again, that translated totally different into the relationships I allow myself to be in. I excuse certain behaviors, and I think it's because I said no to perhaps my father, for example, for certain things, but I allowed other men to do that in relationships towards me. So it kind of was an oxymoron, essentially. So I kind of had to refine and retune things to recalibrate what I really want.
I think you're a trailblazer in many ways, really getting some things regarding the industry you're in. And I believe you have that's a voice for voiceless women. So I want to get into that too. But one of your parts of your stories is so interesting to me, and I spent time with you on it when we were in our pre-interview, and that's your role as a stepmom. I'm moved by that because I was a part of a blended family as well. I came into this situation in many years. It's been almost 30 years now, so it's not really fresh anymore. But I was astounded by kind of how you approach that, and I'd love to. I already got the permission to talk about it on the show. So because you changed your mind,
Absolutely.
I think we're still good. So tell me, how did you grow into the role of mom? I'm assuming that was your first experience. How did you navigate those challenges of being a mom without having any idea what you were doing? Talk about that a little bit.
You know what? It's kind of, I think if anything, even new moms, they kind of just wing it, or it's a natural instinct.
Okay.
I feel you don't know, right? They always say you're never ready until you have to be ready, right? So I going in going into it, I kind of prepped myself. I knew I was always good with kids. I babysat, very different story, but I babysat when I was younger, very good with kids. I love doing, activities, adventures, stuff like that. So I knew I'd be like the cool stepmom. I always knew that in my
I love
heart that that was a role that I could possibly play. But obviously, when it came to disciplining kids, or, you kind of have to rely on the other person. In the day, that's not your children, right? And so I kind of really relied on the other person kind of bringing that to the table, and I'm just there to possibly be the nurtured, the one that's giving the nurturing and giving the most fun possible, like the cool aunt in a way.
it.
But
Yeah.
I left the hard stuff to the parents, I guess you could say, the maternal parents, and my role was to just be a support system. And I think I really excelled at that part for sure.
Love that. And you did share, and we want to go into too much, as much as you want to go into with this, but you did the
Yeah.
relationship to and you were no longer in that role anymore. What's that look like on the back end now? I mean, for the child and or children and for you.
You know what? I always had their best interests at heart, and with everything I did, I enjoyed making their lunches in the morning, or getting creative and giving them little notes or things, or guiding them through their,
Oh, that's so
certain
awesome. I love that.
scenarios.
I love
Sorry?
that. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I know. I actually really enjoyed being a stepmom, to be quite honest. Yes, you do forfeit a bit of your own self to be in that role. And, if you have them every so often, so week by week, it's, every 2 weeks, I would basically have them, that sort of change on a week to basis after a certain point in time. And I did find I was losing a bit of myself and putting a lot of emphasis on my surroundings and these children. But that's kind of the role you almost have to accept, and you also have to put boundaries. I think that was something I needed to learn myself too, was okay, in order for me to come to the table, fully in my element, and with my glass full, empty, not empty, sorry,
Yeah.
how can I make sure that it doesn't become empty? And so I had to put proper routines in place. So making sure I work out in the mornings, I get my alone time at night or somewhat in the day while they're at school. So it's just really emphasizing, those roles throughout the day. But after now that I'm alone, I'm realizing, yes, I do have more time for myself, and I do have more time to make sure my glass is always filled. But there's obviously that there's something also lacking. Like there's not somebody that's asking my opinion or wanting to do something, or there's that lack of, fun, I guess you could say. I'm not a big partier, so it's not like I'm going to the club every night drinking.
That's
So I think
good.
I found fulfillment in being a stepmom, and I think that's kind of gone now. And I wish I still had a close relationship with them, but I don't.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. I just, I hope I leave an imprint in their life and they can move forward with whatever I gave them.
I want to stay there for a little while if you don't mind me doing that.
Mhm.
Uh, quick question: would you ever do a blended family situation again if you had an opportunity?
Different scenario for sure. I possibly would. I think, you know what, in every relationship, there's two people, right?
Sure.
And the other
I hope
person,
so.
well, there's the one you have with yourself, and there's the one you have with another person. But bringing in a blended family, it's a relationship with you, yourself, the other person, and then the children, right? So there's a whole mix in there. And I think that you really have to rely on yourself first and foremost. And I think that I was lacking that part for a bit, but also on the other person as well. We got to be super crystal clear on like what those values, what your day to day looks like, what are the responsibilities like. And I think having that love between each other too is tremendous. It's going to get tough. It's going to be hard. I think that you really do need to make sure that that love and that spark and that connection is always there no matter what. Because everyone will say, well, having children, it's hard. It really takes a toll on a relationship for sure. So yes, I would do it. Circling back to the question, but I would do it. But I think it would have to just be with the person that really understands what it is to have a person come into this blended family scenario. I think it
Okay.
was the first for my ex. So it, I
Okay.
give him grace. He was trying to figure that out too.
Yeah. Sounds work in progress for everybody involved. So that makes sense. So if and when you decide you want to step into the realm of mom again, whether it's mom or stepmom, what do you think
Yeah.
you bring to the table this time? I know you have a lot of experiences and you grew. I hear a lot of maturity in you
Cute.
from your experiences. What do you think you bring to the table for the next round?
Good question. I think I bring to the table, a sense, again, sense of maturity. I think that's really important. I think kids sometimes when they, are separated from their mom or their father, there's a lot going on emotionally. And I think that I can bring that maturity back in and reel them back into the scenario. I can always bring that fun, that's for sure. I'm very adventurous and activity based, so that's not an issue. And for myself, if I were to have my own children too, I mean, I think it's always making sure that I fill my cup first because I cannot be present for my own kid or for someone else's kid if I don't, fill my cup first.
Makes sense. I did ask you a tough question in our pre-interview, and I asked your permission first because I know it's going to be a little bit of a tough one. But I want to ask it because I know people are watching and listening in the era that we live in, and I want to give a commentary on the world and politics and such. I'm just saying that in the world around us right now, there's a lot of rah rah and a lot of empowerment stuff, and people aren't really doing. This is a phrase that I coined. I guess not doing the mirror time work. They're not looking at themselves and dealing with themselves. Two-part question for you, Jessica. How do you currently feel about love and relationships as a whole, based on what you've been through, and what was your part in the challenges that you went through?
So how do I feel about love as a whole? I think love requires a lot of patience. I think nowadays, as you mentioned, there's a lot of rah. There's a lot of noise, and we have to filter through that noise. And divorce is a word that's been being thrown around a lot more than it was in the past.
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel like in
absolutely.
the past, people are fighting and trying to keep each other together versus now it's just so easy to do and everything is so accessible, different women, different, you know, parts of life. And so I think, when it comes to love, I think there's just has to be a mutual loyalty and respect there. And I think that if you're going to be in love and going to live a life together, that you're going to have to just really be trustworthy with each other and just know that this is the path and we're doing it together.
I love it. As part of the second part of the question, how do you feel about that? You gave me an answer in our pre-interview, but I want to make sure you're still good with it. In regards to relationship and how things change for you and, and your husband, what was your part in that? Do you see a role in that? I mean, we always talk about accountability on this show. We always talk about kind of looking in the mirror and having that mirror time. And a lot of times people around us in the world around us, they don't want to do that. A lot of finger pointing and a lot of this is on you, and and nobody ever deals with the whole self-assessment thing. So can you speak to that a little bit if you're comfortable with it?
Yes, I'm all for accountability. So, you know what? I think at the end of the day, yes, like I mentioned before, it takes two people to be in a relationship. And, I think I may have gotten mad on a certain things and I didn't communicate myself and knowing that perhaps this person communicated in a different way than I did. I kind of responded without responding. So I kind of stayed shut, closed, and just kind of did what I had to do to move forward. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think you should always be allowed to communicate. And I always think you should always have a voice in your relationship. And so I think, yes, I did have a part in that. I probably didn't communicate, or then I would blow up. I wouldn't, not necessarily an aggravated person, but I would just be like, oh, no, or try to, make sure that I spent time alone and didn't really answer my phone. And I just wanted some space and peace to really think. And I think that didn't lead to that downfall, but I think obviously that person was just like, oh, are you okay? Are you in this or what's going on? But the other person also has to have an ear to listen.
That's good. That's really good. All right. I'll leave you alone on that. You answer those questions fantastically. I love it. All right. So you are crushing it in the world of real estate. Why did
Try.
you get into it? Well, I know that there is usually impetus on making a lot of money in a, I won't say quick, I want to diminish what you guys do, but in a timely manner, if you will. So tell me why you got into real estate in the first place. Why were you drawn to that genre as opposed to other things you could have been doing?
You know what? And it comes down to what I mentioned before as being a stepmom, and it allows you that ability to make your own hours and schedules. Mind you, we do work around the clock. So I
Yeah.
kind of maybe take it back, but it does allow you that flexibility. So people are coming, from school, you have the, that time frame to really work around certain things of your life. And I think I went into it having that entrepreneurial mindset of like, I can make my own hours, I can make my own time, and I can actually really connect with people that I really want to connect with versus working in a corporate job and field. You're really just at a certain task with a certain same people, and you are now able to touch upon a lot of things. And now there's like memes going around on Instagram and Facebook being like an agent's now got to be a content creator, a therapist, and all these things, which is
Oh,
in
that.
fact true. So I think in real estate, why I was drawn to it was that it touched a lot of facets that I really liked. So marketing, home staging, stuff like that. And it wasn't for the money, it was more for all of that what encompasses real estate essentially.
Sound like you grew to love it.
Yes, I did. I did. It has its ups and downs for sure, and it's a very challenging role, but I love giving like those aha moments to people where they're like, "Oh, I didn't think of it that way," or "I didn't see this house in this light." And so I love being helpful in that way because sometimes I have a skill set maybe somebody else does not have.
And that makes a lot of sense. Just getting to know you, I'm a feeler, so I just, I connect with folks when I'm your friend. Don't worry about it. That's just where I'm at. So getting to know you, I have a concern that I think about in your industry. What happens when things change from a world standpoint when it comes? We've seen that happen in recent years, but it was the industry. What's my friend Jessica going to do if something changes? And are you preparing against that? Is there a plan? Can you share it on a live broadcast? I don't even know. You can tell me that. But
I
talk to me about that if you can.
I it's funny because I was a real estate agent prior to the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic. So
Oh wow. Okay.
I've seen it all almost. The best thing to do is almost, first of all, have your resources. Like I'm always developing a book of not a book of business, but a book of people that I always go to. So whether it's people that are in real estate law or mortgages or anything like that, so that I can help my clients further answer their questions to say, okay, if there's like a delay in something, how does that work for you, right? So I think that's important, having resources. And obviously I really try to emphasize like, let's sit down or let's do a Zoom, let's figure a game plan out together versus like you thinking, okay, what happens next, and where all these balls are falling, and you're just like, where do I pick these up, right? And you're juggling a bunch of things. So I think it's really just strategizing. And I had a client the other day that was like, you know what, just talking to you makes me feel better because now I feel like I have a plan moving forward. So I've seen it all, and then I can kind of guide people with what the plan is. And I think that's the best thing to do right now. We're in a very shifty market and people just don't know what to do. I think it's presenting the stats, presenting what happened in the past and what we can see moving forward a little bit, and then coming up with the right game plan with the resources in hand.
You've been considered a trailblazer in the industry. Can you kind of explain briefly some of the highs and the lows that got you to the place that you are?
Sorry, you got cut off.
Oh, I hope not. Okay. You've been considered a trailblazer in your industry. Can you kind of share briefly some of the highs and the lows that kind of got you to where you are in what you do?
Oh, yes. Well, the pandemic was one of them. We didn't know whether or
Yeah.
not, if we could see houses. We had to do virtual visits for 10-minute time slots, or then
Mm.
it became in-person visits with 15-minute time slots, and you had to, there was 12 offers on the property, and you had to make a decision rather quickly if you wanted to be the 13th offer. So the highs and the lows essentially was just to really calm everyone's nervous system, including my own, and make sure and make sure that the investment was going to be okay in the end, right? And I've literally told people, I'm not writing this offer for you. I think you're making a super unrational decision. And I don't think you're doing, and people have actually thanked me to this day to be like, thank you. If we wrote that offer, I would have been miserable, or I would have not been happy, or something like that. So I think saying no, as much, we're alone, we're solopreneurs, you need to make money to survive, right? And I get that, but I think at the end of the day, my clients always come first, and saying no sometimes,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's in their best interest.
Love this. So you talked a lot, and we're getting close to the end of our show. So I want to not monopolize all of your time, but get some really awesome questions back. All right. Your journey of self-discovery, you've been talking about that a little bit. What are you hoping to find?
Good question. Always looking to find something, and I'm going, okay, where is it? Where's the where's the unicorn? I what I'm looking to find essentially is really the best version of myself. I think we're in a time where, doom scrolling news, all these other things are surrounding us, and I just kind of want to be able to just filter out all the noise and really center myself and really know and be clear as to what my vision truly is, and just go down that path and continue down that path every single day. I almost just, if it wasn't for work, I would probably check my phone and live on a farm. but
Okay.
because there's too much media out there, but I love consuming, and I think it's what we consume, and being conscious of what we consume is kind of what I really want to find too, is just being conscious of what I consume and what others consume as well. I want to be a positive beacon of light.
No, I love that. That's amazing. That's what we need to be doing. You kind of juggling your real estate and entrepreneurship and your personal growth too. So I respect that.
Thank
You
you.
talk a little bit about talk a little bit about your recent injury that kind of made you slow down. Now I know what this is like, because if you're a hard charger, I think you and I both we share that. We share that trait. So having to slow down is almost like a prison. Tell me about your injury, what caused it, how it changed your life, how to make you reassess and gain new perspective. Go ahead.
So it was just a freak accident. I just fell on my knee and broke my kneecap in half. And it was not a very common thing to happen. And so I was just bamboozled with information when it happened. They were like, might be in a cast for a full year. We don't know if you need surgery, and surgery might take months, and you might not be walking for a long time. So it really, again, filtering out the noise, I really was like, no, stop listening to all this information, and just get to the source and get the information. And finally, I was able to get surgery rather quickly, and recover rather quickly as well too. So that really took a toll, because I really had to put work on pause, everything on pause, couldn't walk, couldn't drive, I had to stay
Oh,
immobile. And so you start to think like, okay, I'm, as women too, we're like, health wise, like I can't work out, I'm gonna be fat and ugly, all these things. And it's just the narratives we keep telling ourselves. And then every day I was just like, no, this is not what I want to do as I'm here immobile. Like, let's just change the scene, right? So for me, I got really quickly right into mindset coaching, also into other business coaching for real estate as well too, because I'm like, let me take this time to really focus on myself. So journaling, and then again, like I mentioned, like just consuming the things I really wanted to consume. So whether it was just a show that brought some joy to myself, or a book to dive into, I kind of really focused on just, it is what it is. At the end of the day, there's nothing I can do, but I'm able to at least consciously select what I'm doing.
I love it. What was the show that brought you joy?
You're gonna die of laughter. I'm a very
Probably.
I'm a very nostalgic person, so I said, let me rewatch a show that brings a little bit of humor, and also, at the end of the show, sometimes it makes you want to rethink life a little bit. And it was Desperate Housewives. I know. It's quirky, it's funny, and there's like some little hints of, just these little life lessons in the show. And I think there
I
was eight
know the
seasons.
show. I used to watch the show, but I guess I didn't get the deep perspective part at the end. I think I might have missed that.
You know what? No, because there's like little life lessons between, the moms on the show, and so I really dove into that show for some odd reason. I don't know why, and I just kept laughing. There was a lot of, laughable moments, and I think it kept my spirits high. And it was one of those shows where I was like, you know what? If I have nothing to do, I'm gonna go to the next episode, and so that's kind of what I did. Desperate Housewives.
Okay, it's okay. No judgment. I'm just surprised. You shocked me on that one. You got me. Okay, cool. I
I'm
like it.
here to surprise you. I'm here to surprise you.
You did a couple times already. Probably more to come in the future. All right, so well, based on all that you've experienced, all that you've gone through, we're getting close to. I'm gonna have to start cutting questions. I have so many more questions for you, but we don't have enough time for all of it. But what do you believe you have to give to the female entrepreneur that's listening and watching right now? They may say, "Oh, that's just her story," but what do you think you can give that's germane to every female entrepreneur that will be impactful for them if they take your advice? What would that be?
Hope.
Hope. Okay.
Yes. Hope. Things are always going to change and keep changing, and no matter where you are in your life or in whatever area you are in, there's just always hope. Just give yourself time. I think women, we just are always struggling and running around and doing all of the things, but just know that with time, and just give yourself hope that things will just work in your favor, and you will get to the other side. Just give yourself that hope,
I
and give
love
yourself
it.
that grace as well, because
Hope.
we're so
Important
far.
word. You talked a lot about women not dimming their light. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of speak to women who may be watching this, who may be in that category. What do you advise for them? Help some women out, Jessica. Help them out.
I dimmed my light for so long. And I
Explain what it
think,
means.
sorry,
Explain what that means too, just so people might.
dimming your light, I feel like the person you are, your essence, your aura, the bubbliness that you are, the things that you say, the things that you do that just bring light and joy to the people around you. I think I dimmed that down a lot because of the people that really did not want to see me shine for a very long time, or always had an opinion. And I decided to dim that down so I can fit in other people's boxes. And now I've realized, like, no, why do I need to do that? This is my life, my journey, my script that's already been written for me, and I continue to write my own story. Why do I'm the main character? Why do I need to dim that light? And I think maybe that's the message to women, is don't ever dim your light. A lot of people will come into your life to dim it and not want to see you shine for their own selfish reasons. And I think you always just have to reel yourself back in and be like, no, this is who I am, and I'm not going to change unless it's a bad behavior. But I think you should never dim your light for anyone, because at the end of the day, people are going to hate you whether your light is dim or not.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And you're building a community for like-minded women. I wish I had more time to get into that because I find that fascinating. What kind of support do you believe women need most right now? What are you providing in your community? What are you seeing and hearing?
I think women are like a little bit more confused than ever because there's so much noise again in the media, like, oh, skinny, or you have to have do this and do that and be an entrepreneur and hustle and grind and be a mom. And I think there's just so much s- stuff, is what I'm going to call it, coming at women, and I think we're just losing the right vision to move forward. Like what is it that you really want at the end of the day? If you don't want to hustle and be in that hustle culture, you don't have to. There's no playbook saying that you have to do that. Some women just naturally are just good at, being a mom and staying home and helping out the family, and that's okay to do that also. So I think it's just what women need right now is just the support of like-minded individuals. And I hope that they can seek that out through like groups or their community. Just go out there and just try to look at the people that want the same thing as you and just connect with those people. I think we need more of that.
Last two questions of the show, and at the end, I'm going to have you let everybody know where they can find you. So this is the next to last question. You talked a little bit about your Italian heritage, but I think you told me you hadn't been there yet, right?
No.
Tell me what the pull is for you. What do you want to experience? What do you want to feel when you finally get a chance to get to that place physically, to be on that ground geographically? What do you want to feel? What do you want to see? What do you want to learn?
History. I mean, we learn it on paper and books and things that we watch and read, but I want to just be there and really absorb everything with my own eyes, my own ears, my own sense. I just want to be able to see the history of everything and where it came from. At the end of the day, it's my background. It's where my grandparents came from. It's where the values and culture came from. And I think being in a place where
And
that all
awesome food. Oh my God.
Oh
Well, I was
yeah,
Italian.
that
I
I
was
mean,
Italian growing
I'm
up.
gonna say
I did
taste,
some
but it means
Italian
I
food.
came up untasteful for this, but just tasting the real authentic food, it's not the same as it is here, right? So I think just absorbing all of that, the food that my grandparents lived, with and came with their recipes from and all that sort of thing. I think just being in that essence will just be mind blowing.
Okay. This is our final question of the episode, the CMV question. All of our guests know about it in advance. Career, mission, vocation question. Not to diminish your work and your skills and your experiences, and they're all valuable to you and to me. I'm going to temporarily wipe everything away that you've done up to this point. If it's a hobby, wiping it away. If it's a work you've done in a career, a mission, wiping it away. What is Jessica most likely doing right now outside of what she's already done? What do you think you're doing? You can still keep your entrepreneurial mind that you have. You can still keep that to answer this question. What do you think you're doing right now?
I would either two things. I always wanted to be in sports in some way, shape, or form. I played sports my whole life. Yeah, I played soccer my whole life. So I think just being in sports, either if I was a player myself or just perhaps I wanted to be a sports oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for?
Analyst,
Yeah,
broadcaster.
yes, something of the sort. Yeah, something in sports, I'm telling you, or an agent, sports agent.
Is this now? I don't always follow with this, but I have to ask another question. Is off the table completely? No chance this stuff is going to happen?
Sorry?
Is there no chance this could potentially happen?
Oh no, that ship that ship has sailed to become into sports again. Oh,
Okay.
at this juncture, no. I think that no, I had to start much younger, I think.
Maybe. I don't
Maybe.
think
Well,
that.
I try to, coach when I can, and this year I couldn't because of the knee injury, but I think sports would have been, I love sports, so
I got a story for you that might change your mind. Stay on with me after we get done, okay?
okay.
Don't go off. Stay in. Make sure the upload goes through. But then I have a story for you that might change your mind. But thank you again for being on here, Jessica. I really appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you and potentially find your work. Go ahead.
Yes, just you can follow me on Instagram at Jessica DeRay, just my first and last name, or jessicadray.com. And I'm on Facebook as well.
Awesome. All right. I love this. All right. So, all you guys watching and listening, thank you again for tuning into this live episode. It's on all of our social media platforms, and with a few exceptions, we get Instagram going in about 30 to 45 minutes. Of course, in about an hour, all the listening platforms will have this episode. This is going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora. She's going to be everywhere. So, thank you again, Jessica, for being here with us. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching and listening, guys. Have a fantastic day. Jessica and Mr. Yu, we're out of here. Have a great day.